Ant-Man Saves Christmas is the fourth installment in the Ant-Man movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Welcome back to Movie Health Community, the internet's #1 source of health warnings at the movies. So yeah, obviously we're not actually talking about Ant-Man, we're talking about Red One, which is now one of the most expensive single non-franchise movies ever made, mostly because of Dwayne Johnson and his salary. But before we get to anything about the quality of the movie or the production of the movie or any of that, let's talk about if this movie is safe for photosensitive audiences. The answer is kind of. This movie does have some strobe effects. There are sparks from a cutting tool. There are a couple of instances of lightning, and early in the movie, there are a few instances of a taser-type weapon that creates some bright strobe effects throughout the entire bodies of their victims. For flashing lights, we are going to give Red One a 4 out of 10. In terms of motion, there's a lot of high-speed flight in this movie and some peril at extreme heights. Some of it involves flight, some of it does not. I actually don't have any mental health triggers for this movie. That's definitely one of the shorter evaluation segments of one of these videos I've done. Now let's talk about if Red One is any good. I'll level with you, I did not enjoy it a lot. I went into it with very low expectations, and this movie superseded my expectations very, very slightly. This movie did a few things right. Let's start with that. This movie had just as good a droopy dog moment as the Hulk has in the first Avengers movie. Some of the humor was fun. The Christmas spirit of the whole movie was definitely there. J.K. Simmons as Santa was great. What else? Oh yeah. And as an action movie, this movie attempted a whole bunch of one-liners in a good old-fashioned style like you would see a lot of in the action movies of the 80s and 90s. Now, speaking of action movies from the 80s and 90s, there's one that I actually think would make a really good comparison to Red One, and that is Jingle All the Way. When Jingle All the Way came out in 1996, the critics really hated it. And when you watch that movie, it is not a good movie. But it's so fun. And you can tell there's a lot of love put into the movie. So even though it's not that great a movie, you can still feel the passion for 90s action movies and for Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Like, that's definitely a movie that utilized Arnold Schwarzenegger really well. With Dwayne Johnson being the closest thing we get to a modern Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is a tongue twister. It seems right to compare this movie to Jingle All the Way. Now, are critics going to hate this movie? Yes. Is this movie going to financially fail? Most likely. Do I have any intention of seeing it again anytime soon? Probably not. But the other thing about me is that I did not grow up in the age of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you grew up with post-Endgame MCU movies coming out, then Red One will probably scratch a nostalgic itch for you 10, 15 years in the future, just the same way that Jingle All the Way does for me. Oh, let's go back to one of the big positives on Red One. That is the prosthetic work. The makeup prosthetics are just as good as the ones you would see in a modern Star Trek production or a modern Star Wars production or any of the top places. Heck, Krampus looked better as the Beast from Beauty and the Beast than the Beast from the Beauty and the Beast remake did. So it's like, why couldn't we get that for the Beauty and the Beast remake? But yeah, this is not a deep movie. This is not a complicated movie. This is just a really simple, turn your brain off action movie that you can put on at Christmas time. If you're going into this with a lot of high hopes for J.K. Simmons as the jacked Santa Claus, you're going to be disappointed. I remember seeing the announcement about that saying that J.K. Simmons was going to be a beefy Santa Claus and thinking, yes, I want that movie. And then finding out that that's going to be a Dwayne Johnson-led action movie was actually kind of disappointing. I would have preferred to have this movie be about jacked Santa Claus, because he was way more interesting than anything else that was going on. And at the same time, with Chris Evans's character, I would have cast somebody less likable and less charismatic. Like, I hate to typecast, but I think Sam Rockwell would have done a much better job in that role than Chris Evans did, just because he really relishes playing those unlikable characters. And for A Christmas Story, if you're gonna have a character that is naughty listed or doesn't have the Christmas spirit, and they grow throughout the movie and get the Christmas spirit back, you gotta make them a lot more unlikable. That's why Scrooge works so well. I'm afraid I gotta be one of those modern critics that says I didn't like this movie, but I can understand where people in the future who are nostalgic for this kind of movie are going to really love this movie in the future. So I am going to give Red 1 a D+. Thank you so much to our readers on Tumblr and Facebook, and as always, an extra special thanks to our patrons over on our Patreon community whose names are scrolling on the screen like credits right now. As a reminder, nothing produced by Movie Health Community is medical advice, nor has any of it ever been reviewed by any medical professionals. Be sure to leave a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post new videos, and leave a comment if you have anything to add to this discourse, especially if you disagree with anything I've said. We love hearing from you. And as always, stay safe at the movies.